Hello, everybody. Welcome to another installment of the Blue Abroad Show on a Monday night. I'm your host, Terry, and I've got one of the OGs, one of the Blue Abroad OGs back with me, Pommy. What's going on, brother?
Hey, not so bad. We bring me out of my little box, when crises are here. So here I am.
Break in case of emergency. It's you're a soothing guest to have, I'll tell you that much. You were the first, I'm pretty sure you were, like the first guest on the Blue Abroad Show. Yeah.
I was here in darker times, and I'm still here in the dark times.
Yeah, you really turned it on in 2019, and nothing's changed. But no, it's good to have you back, mate. Always good to get a nice rotation of people and voices on the show. So I'm looking forward to tonight.
Always a pleasure, Taz. Always a pleasure, my friend.
Fantastic. Well, there's a big show tonight. We're coming off at seemingly another disappointing loss. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it a little bit more. There are a few more issues, and we kind of know what's coming this week for the club and the media standpoint. And I guess the point of tonight is to talk about how the fans really feel and dissect a little bit more and see if it's really as bad as what it seems, or if it's as good as what we think it could be. So I'm looking forward to it. Before we do that, I definitely want to get a bit of a shout out to our members of the channel. You guys that financially support the channel, allow it to grow to the strength and I guess the gravity that it has, and it doesn't go unnoticed. Get to give away quite a few Guernseys a year now. We're giving away one on the jumper punch. We give away one weekly here on the Instagram page and Facebook, and obviously allows us to sponsor Corey Durden as well. So thank you very much. It's really cool to be able to reinvest that back into the club and grow the channel. So your names will all pop up on the bottom. And if that is something you're interested in doing, just go to the channel on YouTube, hit the join button, and then select your membership, and we'll go from there. But enough about that. Why don't we roll a little bit of an intro, Pommy, and then
Let's do it.
And then I think we can get going from there and start from there.
What's going on? Internet!
Martin's been very impressive every single time.
I saw the Carlton supporters and they thank you for the love.
No sense of playing Glasgow. And there's a magic moment. Ball inside 50. Control! He strikes it beautifully. He's got it.
Definitely want to thank our man Shad for that. Shad from Assertive Media, who made that brilliant intro for us. We do thank you very much for that. Pom, let's start with the bits and pieces of news that have come up over the last 24 hours. Not good. Very much not good. Why don't we start with Dave Cunningham? I think we should start there. I think that's the move. Unfortunately, it was pretty much suspected, but Dave Cunningham has ruptured his ACL, and it's just the timing of it is shocking for him, isn't it?
Well, the wonderful thing about being a Carlton fan is, the phrase, it's never as bad as it seems. Like, Carlton's motto would be, it's never as bad as it seems until tomorrow. There's always something that just makes you worry about something else. And shame for Connors, because he was really stringing a patch of games together, wasn't he? And it happened, didn't it? The worst possible time. We didn't get to see him do his job on Jakey Lever, which was, I'm sure we're all excited to see. So, there we are. A season gone for him. Hope he comes back stronger than ever, though, because, it was there, wasn't it? He was starting to make good of his potential.
Yeah.
And, for it to be taken away from him, really cruel.
I remember the contest because he was going up for a mark against Clayton Oliver, and he wasn't necessarily in the position to mark it. And I remember saying, Cunners, you've got to go, mate, you've got to go. And he really really went up with some force. And we finally started seeing him get those centre bounce attendances. We finally started seeing him get, the midfield time, and he earned that there. He went back into the reserves and did what he needed to do. And it is what it is. It's in comes Brody Kemp, out goes Dave Cunningham. It seems like we can't necessarily have 100% of our list healthy, can we?
It does feel at the moment like we've got like a maximum amount of injuries that were allowed, and then one gets hurt, the other one gets fit. Feels like a conveyor belt, but I mean, it is what it is, isn't it? I'm afraid. I mean, that's football. Football's not a very nice mistress, is she? And I'm gutted for Cunners because he's been in and out of the side with injury, and he finally looked like he'd found his place. And yeah, it's tough. It's tough, but I mean, what can you do?
Yeah, exactly right. We just want to wish him all the best, and that's really all we can do. So, speedy recovery, and we'll go from there. The next bit of news, it's very, very recent. Some football department news. Riley Beveridge has reported that Carlton have made 2 approaches to Justin Lepich over the last week for either an assistant coach role or whatever, to bring him in. How did you take this news? And you guys at home, what do you think about this?
Well, I mean, a very important acquisition. He's known for his structural defensive work, accredited with the defence at Richmond, and we'd say that their defensive positioning probably the best in the league. It's a huge one. There's reports saying that he doesn't want the assistant position. He wants a more football department overseeing role. For me, he fits the bill, doesn't he? If you look at the weakness now, you said one big weakness with the club, it would be how we set up behind the ball. This is what he specialises in. So it is a no-brainer.
Yeah, I'm with you. He's definitely one of the names that has been floated all year, really. Even last year, I think it was known he was going to leave Richmond last year, and he's definitely he ticks the boxes for whatever, everything we want. He's a premiership player, he's a premiership assistant coach. He knows what it's all about. What kind of a role would you want him to be playing if he was to come to the club?
Well, there was talk that it was senior assistant or football department replacing Judd. If it's replacing Judd, I hope he actually does something. I hope it's not just a sat there peddling his side gigs. I hope he's actually actively doing something. I mean, I'd like him as a senior assistant and actually working as a line coach, but having him in, if he can get some form of structure behind the ball, I'm very, very happy with it because his knowledge is worth weights of gold, isn't it?
Yeah, I think Debbie O'Connor has nailed this one here. He's very knowledgeable. He's easy to listen to and understand. I love listening to him dissect every team, but obviously a little bit more when he talks about us. I really enjoy his commentary.
Oh, he's a wonderful, wonderful analyst as well. I mean, you hear his radio work. He speaks sense. He doesn't talk in riddles. And I think for someone like a young team like Carlton with some inexperience there, also with some senior experience as well, he's going to be able to talk to both with ease, isn't he? So for me, very, very good acquisition.
Yep. Yeah, I'm with you. I hope it eventuates. We'll see what happens, but it's a good sign. Look, you could argue that it probably should have happened at the end of last year, and there is the COVID excuse, if you want to call it, but it didn't stop Melbourne from strengthening their department as well. So we'll just see how it plays out. The fact that it's happening, or the fact that the conversations are happening, are exciting, and I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, we've just got to wait and see, unfortunately. I mean, yeah, it's bad, isn't it, that we're in May and we're already looking to the end of the season?
Yeah, absolutely. But such is our life, mate. We just have to, that's the hard part as a fan. You just got to hope that things turn your way, and you just sit and wait until they do.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's get into it, mate. Let's get into it. Let's talk about it because we had a game on the weekend on Sunday yesterday. Feels like it was quite a long time ago, to be honest. I've got a lot of emotions that have built up, but why don't we start how we always start? In that, everyone in the audience watching, good evening to you. Please put a comment in giving 3 words to summarize whatever that was in round 9. As Pom, you give me a high level of your experience yesterday.
It reminds me of my great auntie Jude's Christmas presents. It turned out to be patchy. It's there in moments, isn't it? I think what kills me the most with our team is it looks good going forward, but it's so easy to take us from down the back and kick goals against us. And it's just the same thing, like exactly like these three things. It's the same in, week out. It's so easy to work us out. It breaks my heart to watch, really, because it's almost like every round is a repetition. And these top teams, they can work us out very quickly. And you saw that with Melbourne. It took them probably half a quarter to work it out. Once they did, it was game over, really. And I don't really think Melbourne were threatened.
No, I'm with you on that. That was probably the hardest one because we, as disappointed and as angry as we all were against the Dogs, I guess without wanting to accept, effort, but we really did force the Dogs to have to find something and say, okay, we're going to have to beat these Carlton Blues. We're going to have to find something and put them away. And you're right. I don't think we really mounted the case and forced Melbourne to find something to beat us. And I think that's probably where a lot of the extra disappointment comes from. And that's probably resonating with David Teague as well. He said that as well in his press conference that, that was the most disappointing of the lot.
And I couldn't agree with him anymore because you were up against a side that, for me, is this year particularly has been very, very prudent at stopping inside 50s and very prudent at mopping it up. And we fell into their hands. I mean, particularly in the second quarter, we resorted back to that panic football of just bombing it in. And Jakey Lever, May, they were just getting their ability to score launch from the back. And it's almost becoming, for me, Teague talks about inside 50s a hell of a lot. He loves that stat. I'm beginning to think that opposition coaches allow inside 50s now because it's so easy. Like if you watch, it was 57 points were scored from defensive transition. That's an awful lot in a game. And it was the same way. It was take the intercept, get it out wide, chip kick down half back, get it back inside, and off you go. And it was time and time again, and it was almost too easy at times. It was like a training drill. And I went back and watched the second game we played in pre-season against St Kilda, if you remember that. And every one of St Kilda's goals was a myriad of Melbourne's. And it's worrying.
Absolutely worrying. Yeah, it's an alarming trend. I think it just seems like the next test comes and we get worse and worse with each of these tests that come. Are Melbourne going to be the top team at the end of the season? I think that remains to be seen. Who knows? I think we safely say that they're going to be in the top 8, definitely in the top 8. It'll take something ridiculous for them not to. But the unity as well for me, that was really tough to see.
I mean, like we could talk about it till the cows come home, but I mean, it's a tough one for me to put your finger on it because when Teague says things like the week prior that he wasn't sure where these long bombs came in and it wasn't from him, it was more player-led. And then you watch the players, they look like they're lost. And then when you watch Melbourne, structurally, they're so efficient at running both ways. I think one of the big things for me is you watch Stephen May and watch Lever, how far forward they come in with the ball in hand. Not very. Very often, Mackay was literally one out on his own down in the forward line. Where you watch Carlton, we are in ventures just outside forward 50. For me, it's really deep. It's a real high forward press. And then we talk about, like you say, unity. Liam Stocker kicks his first goal, and I have never seen someone kick their first goal and not one person congratulate you. I've never seen it. Like, that's mental.
I'm glad you brought it up because it really hurt me watching that. everyone knows when everyone's first goal is up, and that moment is now gone forever for him. It literally speaks. I think it says everything. To be honest, I think that situation says everything about where this group is at. I think it's really all that needs to be said. You watch that, like what's going on? What's happening there?
I mean, it's a tough one to read. I mean, the whole energy I'm getting from Carlton at the moment, from Teague, from the players, is a nervous energy, an energy in which maybe the players were so overawed by the experience and their own feelings they didn't know. I felt it was a heartbreaking moment, though, because them kind of things lift you, don't they? Them kind of things G you up. First goal for a young kid. Do you know what I mean? They're them things we talk about building momentum. Good sides, they build momentum from that. He's got his first goal, rub him on the head, let's get another one. And it felt like, it felt like Teague's press conference that moment. It was abject, it was ordinary, it was devoid of any reasoning. It's tough to answer. Yeah.
So I think it was Nick Newman, Liam Jones, and Fogarty gave him something, some high tens and some love, and then it just I've thought about it. Like, do we speculate about it now? And is that going to help anyone? He strikes me as he's a very intelligent human, Liam. I've met him, I've spoken to him. He's he's different, he's unique. Grew up in Beijing and Hong Kong, and I just wonder if that is a little isolating for him, because he thinks different. He thinks deeper than the average, footy player who's only really grown up in Australia and been a little sheltered here in this country and doesn't really think outside the box. And I wonder if it's a little isolating to be like that. And I wonder if that's maybe why they haven't really connected with him. And who knows? It's hard. I don't want to, say that's the reason and put it out there. But it just makes me wonder. Like,
I thought it was a weird state. I've never seen it. Like, you guys have watched football longer than me. I'm only here a decade, but I can't remember a first goal not celebrated. Not celebrated. And it was a great moment, and it was a good goal as well. I mean, it's a tough one to pinpoint what it is. I can't answer it with any degree of certainty. It's not a good look, though, and I've seen a comment here, and I think it's spot on. It does feel like at times this is an individual game, a group of individuals, not a team unit, and particularly the way they defend, it does feel like it's 18 individuals trying to defend, as opposed to, you look at Melbourne, they're a team. They defend as a team, they defend as a unit. It hurts me to see that. It hurts me. I mean, the other thing that hurt me to see it, I don't know if our wonderful audience picked it up, but when Mackay took the mark and Trent Rivers gave him a little bit of afters and hit him on the shoulder, not one Carlton player remonstrated with him. And I got a text from my Melbourne mate who said, if you guys did that to us, we would have cleaned you out. It was a dog act. And he actually said Trent Rivers was a dog for doing it. And not one person came and remonstrated. And Mackay's there holding his shoulder. Unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, if you go back to the Essendon game, we did all of those little things. It's like they pick and choose when they want to, play as a unit and show the little signs of being a complete unit. Because you can't take anything away from them in the Essendon game. They were there for each other the whole game. Anyway, we digress a little bit. I want to get a little bit more practical. And look, it can't all be as bad as what it seems. I do think there were some things that did work, and I do want to focus on them. So the next part of this is why don't we highlight, you guys in the audience, and Dan, I'm going to ask you as well. Can you write something in the comments? What did work? What did you think? What did you like about the way we performed or played? What did work for you? Because there were some changes that were made, I think anyway, that I think we can build from. Yes, we've lost, and yes, the measuring stick is winning and losing, but ultimately you've got to move on and you've got to get better and you've got to take something from week to week. So what did you think was good for us?
I thought that Mackay showed incredible heart, courage, and bravery. One-handed for the majority of the game. Absolutely, hats out to him. That is the kind of courage and application that will win us football matches if we can replicate it 22 times. For me, like that was what it's about to play for this football club, in my opinion. It's more than yourself, and he put his heart and his body on the line, and hats off to you. I don't know how he did it, but what a superhero.
Yeah, fair play. Fair play. I'm just reading out. I'm just clicking on quite a few of them. I'm going to go with Cripper because Cripper gets a lot of flack by the fans, and it's because of the standards that he set for himself. But I know he mucked up. I know there were a few things that he should have done better. I know that there was the handball in the center of the ground where he should have quickly handballed it over to Walsh instead of hold on to it, and then he muffed the kick. I understand that, but the pressure was on. Really on, and I thought he tackled the way that we have all come to love Patrick Cripps, and I thought he was a big tick. I think even Nick Newman gets a big tick for me as well. I thought that made us look a little better, and that's something we can use moving forward with him and even Zach Williams in the back. How did you find that move?
I thought it was the right move. I mean, I think Zach Williams, I think that little interview he did as he was walking into Icon where he said he's still learning the midfield role, for me was a little bit of a question mark. So I'm glad to see him back in his native position. I think he looks a lot more smarter there, a bit more time on the ball. And yeah, obviously it allowed Doc to move up, as Andrews correctly said there, and seeing Doc in the midfield playing out on the pasture a little bit, that was good to see. And I think it gives us options. I think that's very important for me. I think options are going to help us in the long run. And I felt that backline makeup just looked a little bit more smarter to me.
So is that something you think we should persist with moving forward? Keeping Williams there, keeping Newman there, allowing Stocker to play up the ground. Is that what you want to see moving forward?
I think for me, seeing Doc there when Newman went there as well a little bit, I think our big issue is that our wingers are all converted inside mids, and having some flankers on there, they know about width. It allowed us to spread a little bit, even though the spread wasn't great. It did allow us to spread out a little bit. So I think moving forward, I think T kind of got the makeup right there.
Yeah,
I did like that.
Yeah. Yeah. What have we got? Keep Stocker in the midfield. Kano, can you talk about Lepic? We've already done that, mate. It was at the start of the show. Patience is not a very good word for us here. We don't like patience, but I really thought Zach Williams, I think that's where he needs to be. He looked a lot more comfortable there. It's almost like we just need to get people in positions and settle them for a little bit. And with Doc, it was one thing that's probably not getting spoken about is that's where we wanted to move him before he did his first knee. That was the plan. So who knows? Who knows? Maybe that can spark something for us this week. I'm looking at that team on paper, and there's plenty of talent there, plenty of quality players there.
No, 100%. I agree with you. I also think that having Doc away from Sard is a good thing, because I find that they kind of don't complement each other at the moment. I think both of them want to take the game on. So I actually thought having that space gave you a little bit more options down the back. So moving forward, I like it. It for me, it's worthy of a second look. Yeah.
People are getting a little angry about the $800K price tag. I get it. Trust me, you're preaching to the choir. But I feel like, well, maybe I'll put a poll up. Yes or no, everyone in the audience, would you like to see Zach Williams stay across halfback? Yes or no? Pom, what do you reckon?
For 800K, no. But I would say at the moment, yeah, on the halfback flank, yeah, for now, and there's nothing that it doesn't say you can't rotate it. That would be my answer.
Yeah. I mean, look, I get it. The price tag is there, and I'm very vocal about that and the expectations. But in terms of this team, where is he going to play his best footy right now this week against the Hawks? I just think it is the halfback flank.
No, I'm with you. I mean, he did have a few minutes in the midfield. So, I mean, I'm happy with that makeup. Start him on the halfback. You can rotate Newman, Doc, and Williams there. Give them a bit of a run. Gives you an option. I like it. Yeah.
Sorry, I should qualify that by saying, obviously, he's going to get touches throughout the midfield, but I think the starting point is halfback. Just until he gets his
100%.
bearings. Yeah. Okay. That's an interesting one. Let's move on to the votes. If you guys at home could please enter your 3, your 2, and your 1, and Pom and I will have a chat about it as well. Pom, how do your votes look?
1 vote, I have gone with Sam Docherty. 2 votes, 1 vote, I went Sam Walsh. 2 votes, I went Sam Docherty. And 3 votes, I've gone Harry Mackay.
You gave him the chockies for playing through the pain. I like it.
I'm all about that. All about that.
Yeah, fair enough. No, that's fair enough. Let's have a look here. I've got Tim, who went 3 for Walsh, 2 to Doc, 1 to Sard. Andrew Lake, 3 to Walsh, 2 to Doc, 1 to Sard as well. Peter V was very much the same. I like these votes here from Ari, 3 to Doc, 2 to Cripps, 1 to Walsh. Those were my votes, actually. I'm big on the captains. I know we lost, but I did think they did their job. I really did. And it might be a little hard to hear that, but I did think that they put in and did what they needed to do, respectively. I think Doc is low-key having a pretty good year. And if he wasn't the captain of the club, I feel like we might be looking at his season in a different light.
I think he's been brilliant, Doc, as well. And I think Cripper was good this weekend as well. He set the standard, like you say, pressure-wise. I think everyone's got the 3 players in the right order, in the wrong order. But yeah, I was a big fan of Mackay. I thought when you're doing that kind of stuff, I rate that as well. I think that gives you a bonus point for Pom.
Okay, the bonus point.
He got bumped up to the 3 because I thought that was just tremendous. You could see he was hurting, and for me, that as a fan, that makes me feel very special that someone's willing to do that for us.
Yeah, well, that's what the game kind of requires it, doesn't it?
Yeah, he was out there out of obligation and heart, and it makes me honoured to be a fan when a player does that.
Yeah, for sure. Debbie wants the confirmation. Can we now agree Cripper doesn't have a fracture in his spine now? He did, but it's now healed. I think we'll talk about that shortly, Deb. We'll definitely talk about that because David Teague had a press conference and he fixed it up and he took back his words and fixed some things up. But we will get to that. We definitely will get to that. Let's turn to the number one thing. We've all listed the number one thing that did work. So what didn't work? Everyone in the audience, what did not work? Pom, what was your number one thing you think didn't work?
Game plan.
How so?
I think if you look at all of Teague's games, we start the game exactly the same way. We're trying to work out the opposition. And unfortunately, scores in turnover, we've been top 5 in teams conceding from defensive transitions since 2016. It's something that has actually got progressively worse this year. We're top 3 for it. So for me, that is a big concern. The game plan isn't working. And I can categorically say now, unless it gets sharpened up, it'll never beat a top 8 side. It'll never beat it because it is so easy to transition. And look at all the top 8 sides. They specialise in transitional football. Yeah.
No, it's fair. I'm trying to hold the giggles in from the always on lever. It's brilliant.
I can't. Please don't. Just don't. Let's not even talk about that because I've got it out of my head.
Yeah. I didn't. I felt like. Well, I mean, I talk about the unity of the team. I felt like that was a bit of a loss. That was one of the things that didn't work. That playing with, the spirit and the togetherness. But I think we missed an opportunity to really hurt them with the amount of smalls that we did have, especially in our forward line. And I just don't think we utilised that at all. And I'm left asking pretty much the same questions. Is it the instruction coming to them, or is it the footballers' inability to execute, you know?
To be honest, I don't know, because you've got David Teague saying, I didn't tell them to do that. But then you're like, you've got to be doing that because it's your job. It's crazy. It's really mind-boggling. It's hard to put my finger on it. I mean, structure-wise, I mean, we got a lesson as well from a side that struggles with centre clearances as well, and how they utilise their first use, that theirs is a handball outside or a kick outside, getting it away from traffic. Carlton have two options. Cripper either bombs it long, or we handball it back into traffic and then it gets stopped and restarted again. You saw two polar opposites, and one worked and one didn't. And then you have Goodwin saying we were quite happy to concede clearances because we knew we'd get it back. And that's the third time a coach this year has taken the piss out of us in a press conference.
That definitely hurt to hear that again. Yeah, I'm definitely hearing that. Sorry, I'm echoing on your end, bro. I've got you might have two tabs open. Anyway, yeah, that definitely was annoying to hear for me as well. To hear the coaches can now say that in public press conferences and not have an issue with it. It's tough. It's very tough to hear that. But just on the, I wanted to go back to the Doherty thing, because I felt like there was a bit of an evolution that could be happening with our backline, in that we've gone from Doc being the general. Obviously, he's had some time off with the knee, with both of them. He's come back. It kind of looks like it could be a Wiedering led backline. Is that maybe something that's now evolving? Wiedering needs to take control of that backline and be the voice in that backline now, and let Doc get out of there and play a bit more up the ground.
I think Wiedering is naturally a leader of that backline. Anyway, you do see him throughout the game. He's got a lot to say. He remonstrates with the troops. He's pointing. I think he's got a natural air of leadership about him in that avenue. So I'm quite happy for him to take that. He's in the leadership group. He's well respected. So for me, he does his job very well, and he's the perfect leader down there because he's very steady, very assured, and I'm quite happy for Doc to play that little bit of a role. Go where he needs to. Yeah.
Okay. I like it. Listen, mate, let's move on. The game is done. It was disappointing, but we have 13 more weeks. I want to talk about one of the items on the agenda here, and it's high performance, right? Because I think it's a good one. I want to ask you, what does high performance mean to you? And you guys in the audience, what does high performance mean to you?
That's an open-ended question, there, hasn't it?
A deep philosophical question, mate. I want to know, what is high performance to you?
For me, when you talk about high performance, I'm looking for getting. If you're talking about a high performance position, I'm expecting you to be at the top of your game and to get that extra 10%. Everyone lives in 90%. I'll be expecting whoever the high performance director is to get them to the max of their tank week in, week out, and sustaining that level.
Yeah. I'm very much inspired by a podcast called the High Performance Podcast, and it's run by a few English fellas. I've forgotten their name. Their names have escaped me. But high performance for me is it's the behaviors and the attitudes that you display, not only as an athlete, but as a human being, and your mental approach to life and whatnot. And obviously this will tie into our high performance manager in Andrew Russell, because it's people don't want to talk about it. It looks like, but I don't understand why we can't talk about it. Why shouldn't we talk about the high performance? And, Russell has come under scrutiny from some sections of the community, and other sections have really fought back with that. It's hard to judge because we don't really see what he does day in and day out. But what we have seen now is a pretty solid sample size of the behaviors of our players. And again, this is a big investment that we've made into this part of our club. And I remember when we hired him, I got the quote here. Brad Lloyd spoke about how we've gone. We have now acquired who we think is the best in the industry, in the high performance industry in the country. And it was very interesting at the time. That's what we were told. I think Melbourne have also got a very, very highly rated high performance guru in Darren Burgess, who was at Port Adelaide in 2014. He was then poached and he went to Arsenal for a period of time. Now he's at Bees. I think he and Andrew Russell lead the industry in terms of who are the top dogs. And at what point does this conversation have to come up? Because this is a serious investment that we've made. And I don't know if I can say with absolute certainty that our boys display the traits of people who are living with high performance or demonstrating high performance.
I think it's a fair conversation to have. It is. I mean, first of all, I would start off with, I know that this conversation is one that people don't like having for some reason. And
sorry, before you go on, sorry to interrupt. This has nothing to do with the unlucky injuries that we get. So before anyone tries to jump on that, this is actually got nothing to do with the unlucky injuries. It's more about the performance on field, the behaviors that we display.
I think people don't like talking about it because I think as Carlton fans, we've got so indoctrinated into not looking for the truth and just taking what we're drip fed. And I think now we're starting to be awoke. And I think it's an important conversation. I think if you're talking about high performance in your description there of behaviours, do we display winning behaviours, do you think, on the field? When you look at our side, do you see a side that believes that it's going to win? Do you see a side that has the Mamba mentality, let's call it that? I don't think you do. I think it's interesting to note as well that if we are talking about Russell specifically, he's also very active in our leadership group, another area of concern for our fans. It's a tough one to say. Are we a high-performance side? By definition, yes, but maybe on the field, no.
Yeah, I think we've got a few load injuries, which you may or may not be able to attribute to his program or whatever the case may be. But I'm more so wanting to talk about. There's two aspects to this. There is the on-field, I guess if you want to call it, fitness and the ability to run out games better, and then there is the mental side of the game and how we approach games. And I understand Teague is a very important part of that. Empowering your players to believe in the goal that you're setting up for each game is part of being a coach. But your high performance manager, and I think plays a very important part in that too. And I just think maybe we'll ask the question, everyone in the audience, do you think our players display high performance in their mental approach to the game? Yes or no? I just think it's a fascinating discussion that people are wanting to avoid, and I don't understand why. We're not lynching anyone. We're just asking the question and discussing it, because now we're at the point where we can't find an edge to beat these better teams. We're not getting closer to these better teams. So what can we talk about to get better?
I think for me, it's a tough one because I'd say the answer is a clear no. I think the answer is a clear no, but I think the reason, is it high performance? Is it fitness? Is it skills? I think it's all of the above. I think for me, it's right from standards, accountability, structure. It's a variety of things that you just can't fix with a drop of the hat. And exactly like Adrian says, they're also mentally fragile. There's so much going on with these sides, and you can see that there's a huge polar opposite when you watch them in game. There's 6 or 7 blokes that are up for the fight. Lockie Fogarty has shown that from the day he's come. 14 pressure acts in the first quarter. He always leads our pressure acts in the first quarter. He starts as he means to go on. But then you've got other players that don't have that in them. You have some players that are going to fold under pressure. It's it's a tough place to be, this football club at the moment, because we're close, but also we're miles away. Like, it's a real tough question that you're asking there. But it's a no for high performance from Pon.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, and that could change. There's no doubt it could change. I think Michael Ceravolo said here, some do, some don't. You can tell who puts in the extra off the field, and it shows on the field. Example, Harry going away this summer to work on his speed. I think that's spot on. And just goes to show, and I think Debbie mentioned here, winning is a learned experience. You only learn by winning. And I put a little Kevin Garnett clip in my review today because he spoke about winning. And I watch study a lot of these guys, and I just love it. I love winning. I love studying winning. And there's just this common thread amongst, the books that I've read and the things that I've consumed amongst those that do win. And it really is those that are just willing to do more than the rest. The AFL is a very tough place to be. There's no doubt about that. You can go through your career just going through the program that your club gives you, and you will be an average footballer, but still a pretty good footballer. And it's, we all want our 22 guys to be, winners, and we want all of our 22 guys in the field to want to go that extra mile. And are we asking for too much? Is that, am I asking for too much when I say I want all of them to want to, become, cement themselves as as legends of the club? Is that too much to ask, that we have that standard of we want to be great? Is it unfair?
No, of course it's not. I mean, because anyone who's playing professional sport right now should have the opinion they want to be the best there ever was. And if they don't, they're in the wrong career. It's all about being the best. It's all about it. And in a team sport, you've got it's the easiest sport to do as a team sport, because you've got, in our game, you've got 21 other people there. Do you know what I mean? Helping you achieve greatness. But you see, I always hate this winning talk, because to me, coming from a solo sport, you can't learn to win because you've got no one to teach you. So you can't go to someone else who says, oh, I've won 100 things, this is what you do. So you trick yourself into it. So the same with sport, in a team sport. Yes, you can learn how to win by having to win, but you can go through the processes that get you to the win. Everything has a process, and AFL is a wonderful place because the process is quite simple. Stop your opposition scoring, and you score a little bit more than them. You've only got to score 1 point more, and you do that 18 times, you probably win the flag. So to me, they can learn that. And it's through having good structures in place. Now, I think the first place you fix our club is you look at the Essendon game. If I was Carlton's coach right now, I'd say, let's look at the Essendon game, and that was the game that you won. And I think everyone agrees you won well. What were the 3 key takeouts of that game? One was our intensity, our ability to rough them up, our willingness to be dirty. We set a standard early on to Essendon to say, we ain't going to be pushed off the ball. We're here to fight you today. Secondly, it was this handball link play, very quick play on, very fast. And 3, it was one-on-one defending. Everyone manned up. This zonal lost, and every man was accountable. And we saw them wonderful moments, where players were on different players because they were backing each other in a fight, in a tackle, in a run. And that's, to me, where they look. You look at them 3 things, and you build from that. So that's what we need to do as a club. Look at things that work and focus on them and be like, what was different to then to that? Because at Melbourne, we were as weak as piss against Melbourne. But Essendon, we wanted to bully them. And the reason is simple. Essendon are a shit show. We weren't scared of them. Melbourne, they were 8-0. They were a big bully. And at the moment, we are schoolboy bullies. We're scared when you stand up to us. We're not willing to fight you for your lunch money anymore.
Yeah, no, I take your point. Yeah, the mentality of maybe they thought they'd lost the game. Maybe they didn't really genuinely believe they could beat Melbourne. And they genuinely believe that they could beat us. And I mean, the proof will come when we, start playing a few more of these teams that we should beat. The ones that are below, like Hawthorn this week, I think presents itself with a situation like the Bombers where, I mean, am I wrong in saying that we should be winning this game? Like, isn't that, we should be beating Hawthorn, right? That's what should be happening.
Well, I mean, if you're one of those that believes everything the club say, we're a top 8 side, so we should absolutely smash Hawthorn. If you look at the statistics, we should absolutely smash Hawthorn. In reality, though, I mean, it's which Carlton turns up. It's which Carlton turns up. Is it Carlton? It's Wednesday and I've got no money for lunch, so we're coming to steal your tuck money? Or is it Carlton, he's got a year 11 brother and we better back down? Because to me, you've got to take the game to Hawthorn. They're weak as piss at the moment. So I expect us to go there, exactly like Cripper did this week, throw people around and do it as a team, back each other in, because to me, that's where we go wrong. Against Essendon, there was that sense, wasn't there, where when people kicked a goal, there was a real excitement factor from the players. This week, even the crowd and the players felt very forlorn. They felt like a foregone conclusion. And I really want to bring that energy. I heard Pep Guardiola, it was about the 12th round of the Premier League, and he said that they were going through a bad patch, and he said their biggest issue was there was no fans there. So he'd actually told them to go out and over-celebrate, to say, create your own positive energies. And they got heavily criticised by the media because they were taking the piss with goal celebrations. There was they had like mariachi bands coming out and stuff. But Pep Guardiola's mentality was you've got to create that energies, them energies of we're doing something right. We're doing something right. And I think that's where you get it as a snowballing defeat, a snowballing effect. We need to have that.
Yeah, fair enough. Let's move on because we are moving along very quickly with time. I want to talk about
I talk too much.
No. Don't be sorry. No, it's totally fine. It's totally fine. We're going to talk about Tiggy. We're going to talk about him for a short while. He he muffed it. Look, we all make mistakes. He muffed it. He lied in his initial press conference about the Cripps thing. I think he wanted to talk about how Cripps was fine now, but he muffed it. And then he came out in his press conference after the game and sort of fixed it up and qualified what had happened, and he owned it up and he owned up to it. We are now, I think we have a solid sample size now about him. I remember when we first hired him, Juddy, the training wheels comment, we wanted an experienced coach. Looks like he's not the kind of experienced coach that we were told we were looking for. At the same time, he did some really good things as the caretaker coach. The fans jumped on board the Teague train. I'm still for David Teague, don't get me wrong. I've said it from the start of the year. It's about getting the right assistants around him. What I'm worried about, Pom, is I guess maybe I'm living in a little bit of fear, but what I'm worried about is what happens if we continue to decline and we don't give Teague the time to get his assistant coaches in. Like, where are you at with the coaching at the moment? And you guys at home, what's going on? How are you feeling about the coaching?
God, personally, I think you're seeing a man who's under a lot of stress.
Yeah,
I know we're talking about he said one thing and he did another with the Cripper thing. I think that was just a panic stations, and then the Carlton PR machine got in there. I mean, at the moment, the Carlton media, their ability to do PR is up there with a communist state government at the moment, and it felt another one of them. And I hate to say it, I feel fatigued because I feel like his hands are tied. What he can say, what he can't say, and I think, he probably does need assistance, but time is running out. And when your chairman, your boss says you're a top 8 side and you're not, there's a huge issue. And I think at the moment, based on the 2 and a bit years he's had, I think at the moment you are seeing that there is a massive shortfall in just the basics at the moment. The basics. And whether that's Teague, whether that's a line coach, I don't care. At the end of the day, the horse that gets shot is David Teague. Do you know what I mean? If you think it's Barker, he ain't going to get sacked mid-year. If you think it's anyone else, they ain't. It's Teague. The book stops with it. And for me at the moment, it looks like we're a short way. The coaching is very important. You talked about it today, Ken Hinckley. Look at the difference in Hinckley and what he talks and how he's honest, because that's where the frustration comes from.
Yeah.
I don't blame the fans. We're never told anything that is in the realms of believable. We got told that the plan was putting Cunningham on lever. If you think that's an AFL coaching manual, putting a guy who's a midget on a guy who's a giant, and I don't think David Cunningham's ever left the ground until the time he went to the hub. Like when he got a plane flight, so come on, let's be honest. It's not good at the moment, but it can change.
Well, I will look. I definitely take your point on the Cunningham lever thing, and I even laughed at the Owies lever backup plan. However, I've got to be consistent because at least he was being honest and letting us into the mind of him and what he was thinking. You and I might have completely laughed and disagreed at the whole Owies on lever as the backup plan, but at least he was dead honest. And is it too much to ask for that? And then Ken Hinckley's a great example. And you get to Thursday, I know we're Carlton supporters, but do yourselves a favour for the purpose of this conversation. Do yourselves a favour and listen to a Ken Hinckley press conference. He's so direct and down the line. They're not hiding anything from other clubs. They make it very clear. Last week, Houston had a head knock. He hasn't recovered well. He won't play. X will come in. He does it every week. It's fascinating. He's so down the line. It just eliminates any potential problem. And I just hope that Teague has a quick snap, decision to evolve and just become a little bit more into his own and just own it a little bit. And maybe this was the catalyst. Maybe the way he muffed it with the Cripps situation is the catalyst for him to really change. But I do feel like there is an evolution that needs to be had with him. And I think he's got it in him. I think he's a guy that always looks to get better, for sure. But it was just very hard to watch our head coach, crumble under pressure like that when we're all asking for him to direct our players how to not crumble under pressure.
I think there's a lot to be said that we know that a lot of the other clubs in the AFL have guys who are specialists in tactical setups. I mean, maybe Teague doesn't have that, but I mean, for me, it's like the selections that happen in game, which are a head coach. John's going to full forward. The reason he's down back is because he failed as being a forward. Stocker being put on two dudes who were 7'8" in the back line when he played down the back line. It's okay people saying he's trying things, but sometimes don't be honest if your idea is balmy.
Yeah.
That was a balmy idea. And it's okay, you look at that forward line, there wasn't many tall players. But, you look at what other coaches have done to alleviate issues. You look at Geary playing in the forward line from St Kilda against us to stop Doherty. That was revolutionary. That was a crackpot decision, it sounded like. But it made sense. There was some actual logic there. But you think Cunners, he isn't even an aerial threat. Which is what the description was.
Well, Debbie's asked this question. Who would you have put on lever? I literally would have put anyone but Owies. Anyone but Owies. Even Eddie Betts. Anyone but Owies.
Well, I mean, you'd have to play. You have to put someone tall on him. So, I mean, obviously Mackay was tied up. I mean, Levi there for me is someone, I mean, personally, if I was doing a job, I would have picked a different team, and I would have picked Josh Honey.
Yes.
He's taller, he's stronger, he's an absolute vivacious tackler. He's hungry, he's accountable. He is actually good in the air. He is an aerial threat, good below his knees as well. Would have been the perfect matchup. But then again, I don't pick the team.
Yeah.
But that's me personally.
Yeah, that's fair. Jed Lamb would do the job, says Weldy. That's a very good point.
He would do, yeah.
Shout out to you, Jed Lamb. And shout out to the Spooners, the Instagram DM group that I'm a part of now. I don't know if they're watching, but anyway, it's interesting. Let's talk a little bit about next week, or this week, I should say. We have a game against the Hawks. It's not round 9, it's round 10. Let me fix that.
But we know that.
We know that. It's round 10. We've got the Hawks. The PTSD says Clarko, he's going to have them absolutely believing that they can beat us if they just hang in there. He's going to, do the masterclass every year that he does. But I can't see us losing this game, bro. I can't see us losing this game. So I don't want to preview it, but what are the changes that you are making, if any? And you guys at home, what are the changes you are making? Keeping in mind, we didn't have a reserves game on the weekend, which was very, very unlucky with the timing. But are you making any changes to the side?
Yeah, I'd be bringing out Levi and bringing in TDK straight away, straight off the bat.
So with that, if that's the case, if TDK plays this week, why didn't he just play against Melbourne? Because they didn't have a game in the reserves.
I don't think he'll play, to be honest, but I mean, that's personally what I do. No, I don't know why he didn't. I mean, to me, knowing Carlton, and I'm half joking when I say this, but I'm deadly serious, probably because it was his 150 and it was a good media exercise to play the 150 in a game that you probably thought you were going to lose. Should I get that tinfoil hat on? But no, genuinely, that's what I reckon it was. That's what I reckon it was. But honestly, TDK would come in. Josh Honey would come in for Mickey Gibbons. And Jesus, how long's he out for? He's still out for a while, isn't he?
Well, it's got to be 12 days, and he did it last Sunday. So
he should be fine then. Jesus had come in, and I'd remove Cunningham.
What about Samo?
I want Samo to have a couple of games in the VFL.
Yep.
I'd like Samo to have a couple of games in the VFL just to work on whatever his position is.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know what it is anymore. Like he is a midfielder now again. He's a halfback. Who knows?
Are you worried that we're going to lose Samo? I am.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, if we lost Samo, would I be upset? Not really, because we've got a shitload of coverage coming through. But yeah, I mean, it's going to happen in the next year or so. We're going to start breaking up the sauce boys, and then we just move on with our lives.
Yeah. Well. Anyway, let's move on. We've got some fan Q&A. I put a poll thing up on Instagram, and I had quite a few questions. Where are we? I asked people to ask their most important question to the club. I think we've covered most of them, and I based the agenda tonight on these questions. Cameron Armitage, why haven't we signed our big names yet? Well, I mean, I think it's just, well, another week of contracts not being signed. It was very interesting that the leak came this week and Barras has all of a sudden showed up on Big Footy. I thought the timing of that was very interesting. Is it a distraction for you?
Well, I mean, it's proven by every sport in human knowledge that when there is contract rumblings in the press, it does affect the dressing room. It does turn ears until it's signed. I mean, for Kane Liddell to come out and say that it was imminent would suggest to me that it probably is done, and we're probably just waiting for the opportune time. Probably they're keeping it in their back pocket in case we do, heaven forbid, lose to Hawthorn, and they can drop it on Monday that Cripps has signed for 4 years and everyone's happy again. Or they just do it as the icing on the cake. I reckon that's my prediction. It'll be next week. But for me, at the moment, Mackay is the one that you're worried about. Like, Cripps, yeah, okay, cool. But Harry, like, the form Harry's in, find me a key forward that does what he does, that's available. They're as rare as rocking horse poo.
Yeah, it's true.
So he's the one that I'm worried about. I'm not worried about Cripps.
Yeah. Adam LTG Field. Are we currently in the Richmond phase of 2013 to 2016? Are we really are we on the cusp of premiership glory, and is it all about to click magically?
What are we? Is he saying the question that is it 2013 now, and we've got another 4 years?
He's basically saying, are we just about to hit that thing? But the thing with Richmond is they had an intervention. They all got together and really committed, and I don't know if we've had that yet from our group.
Yeah, you got to remember that Gale sorted out that backroom staff, didn't he? He brought a couple of key cogs that Dimmer had requested. God, we've been saying we're Richmond for ages, though, haven't we?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So, like I've already made a tit of, come on, guys, I've made a tit of myself for 2 years saying we're coming. You want to see my inboxes from opposition fans I've called Mickey Mouse. I can't keep doing it. I hope so. Like, I don't think we're a million miles away, but I'd say we're at least, in my honest opinion, I'd say we're a year with a good trade period away from finals, probably 2 years. Yeah.
Just to clarify, Josh White, there's a few questions asking. Obviously, maybe don't use Big Footy. Who's Barras and what's the leak? Barras is an account on Big Footy, and seems to every time there's a leak of information, Barras is the one that gets it out to us all. So
he is a rumor.
He or she, I don't know.
A rumor mill icon.
A rumor mill icon. He's not a normal fan. He gives us all the news. Anyway, Jake Benno. I had a really good exchange with him on Twitter after the game. He says, are the fans helping the club at all, or is the supporter base too toxic? Not yourself, but all up. Not yourself, but not me, but all in general. Are the fans helping the club, or is the supporter base too toxic? It's it's literally the only non-football related question. But anyway, I thought
it's a great question. It's a great question. Yeah. Absolute spot on question.
Yeah.
For me, every other sport in the world views their fans as the most important commodity. The great Bill Shankly once said that the Holy Trinity is the coach, the players, and the fans, and the board are insignificant. And for me, look at what this club does. Look at what these fans have done. These fans got David Teague a job when it was obvious from the board they wanted a legendary coach. For me, you listen to Cooter speak, you listen to Diesel, they talk about the greats of the fans, the walking to icon with fans, Prince's Park, walking alongside the cheer squad. They are the most important thing, and the voices from the fans have always got to be true, just and passionate. You don't have to agree with them. You've just got to believe in the fans and know that whether I think we should sack Teague, or you think we should sack Teague, or you think he should stay and I think he should stay, we all want the same thing. We love this club. We're a family. Some of us are horrible. Some of us are nice, but we love each other. I'd die for any one of the fans. The players need to have that representation as well. No, we're not toxic at all. We just demand standards, and the standards come from one place, a belief in this list. So no matter what people say now under passion, they believe in these boys so much that they're angry when they don't mirror it. It's an honour for me, if I was a player, to be upset with by a fan because I didn't perform because they love me. So never, ever say this fan base is toxic. They are the lifeblood of the club. They are more important than every individual player, everyone who cashes a check for this club. Without these people, this club ceases to exist. It is purely an emblem.
Fucking amen, bro. Amen to that. Yeah. The club, the fans are the club. I'm with you. And I want to go further than that because, I think one of the big catalysts for me personally, for the channel, for starting it was I felt like there needed to be a little bit of an evolution in the way that we interacted. We have the faceless anonymous accounts who can say anything. And I think when we get, racist, sexist, talk about families and send DMs to players and send death threats and all of that needed to stop. And, the video creates ultimate accountability. You're identifiable and you're therefore accountable for every word you say. And I can only really, first of all, want to mirror what you said, Pom, but secondly, I can only really speak on what's going on here with the channel. I think everyone has actually gotten so much better at communicating with each other. Fan cam is a great example. I disagree with a lot of the people that come on the fan cams, but it's not the point. The point is you have to have somewhere where you can actually have that discourse, And I do think we've done a pretty good job of keeping the criticism where it needs to be, and that's about the game.
Mate, if any idiot out there makes homophobic, racist, any of them remarks, they ain't fans.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? They're borderline not human anyway. But genuine fans, I'm talking people that want the best, want questions answered, why tactics aren't, why aren't we winning? They're allowed to be angry. They're allowed to feel hurt. And for me, that's love of the club. And it's the same as your kids. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? I tell my kids off. I get angry at them. It doesn't mean I don't like them. I love them. And it's the same with this club. And to me, every one of these comment sections, whether you like me or you don't, to me, you are my brothers and sisters. And my inbox is always open and I love you all. So that's it. We're a big family. We're all in it together. And our dad is this big, stupid, bumbling 22 men who go out every weekend. That's our parents. We're their humble servants of them.
Yeah, it's good. That's good. I think that's a perfect way to end the show, mate. I think you nailed it. And I really do thank you for that. So listen, we've got to fucking win this week.
Yeah, I've got to say, you know, after all that, you wait, you'll watch Pom on freaking on fan cams if we lose, absolutely going nuts.
Spot on, mate. Before we wrap it up, I just want to remind you guys of what's coming up this week. Tomorrow morning, we got Joe, Dan, and Jules, the Almost Blues Brothers, at 7 a.m. The podcast drops on all your podcast platforms. Tomorrow night, the Jumper Punch, Rocco, Marcello, and Paolo, they're back. They're going to be up and about. Wednesday, we've got the Blues Footy Podcast boys doing their thing. Thursday, the Next Gen Kids. And on Saturday, I know it says 11 a.m. here. My bad. That's actually it's actually 10 a.m. Johnny Allen, Blue Abroad Nation, your Saturday morning talkback radio session. So we've got a lot going on, and I'm very excited to bring that to you guys, and I hope you are enjoying it. But anyway, for now, have a good night. It's tough. We've just got to keep sticking fat, which we are. We're all going to show up this week, and we're going to do our bit because that's what we do, and that's what makes our club so great. So listen, have a great night. Pommy, love you. Thanks for coming on, and go the Blues.
Go Blues.